Good morning, everybody. I am out nice and early, and I want to take some time to speak on a realization that I had just the other day. A lot of the time when I make these videos and dive into certain topics, I say I don't want to make it too deep, or I don't want to go too personal. In this episode, that is the absolute opposite of the intention, and I want to focus specifically on what I've realized, the points that made me realize it, and where that leaves me feeling and sitting in life. Now, first of all, this is one of these things that's going to be quite subjective. Some people will completely get it, some people may not. Is it a point of deep significance? Maybe not. But the intention of these episodes, especially as we start to get more and more subscribers, is to share my experience in a way that hopefully is meaningful to you guys, because there's a lot of stuff that I've done that I have learnt from. There's a lot of stuff that I have not done that I regret not doing, and if anybody can learn from the experiences to maybe go for certain things or avoid others, then I'm doing my mission very well. So I'm going to get straight on with the topic, and this is one that's not anything new, in the sense that I've made a lot of videos speaking about this, but not really explained what it looks like at the minute. I've spoken a lot about the fact that for the past 2 months I've been on it, right? Properly on it with everything. Apologies for any wind noise in the video, it is quite a windy day. I spoke about the fact that I've been on it with everything, right? I've been at the gym more, running my businesses to the best of my abilities, picking up all of the extra shifts and work that I can, all in the hopes of, achieving something, achieving my goals, which do revolve partially around money, but more to do with time freedom. The ability to do things like I'm doing today. It's nothing particularly exciting, but taking the time to do some exercise in nature, right? For example, or just have a walk around a park or a town. Anyway, so I've been on that goal, and when you're doing that, especially continuously without a break, it's you run into a lot of challenge, in the sense that there's a lot of time that you spend doing stuff that you don't like. I've made numerous points about that in the past. The fact that there's been a lot of times in the past 2-3 months where entire days and partially even weeks I've just not enjoyed any of the week or the month or the day. I'm not saying that to complain, I'm just explaining, right? That's what you're doing when you're on the path to your goals, and I've explained in the past how I think that's a good thing, because although it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing to get by, right now I'm in a better position for it, right? And I've said this, now you're in the position where you can do what you want, or you can do it a lot more freely than what you could before. Anyway, this is just the context. And getting to the main point is this. The fact that when you are spending an awful lot of time doing stuff against stuff that you may not enjoy, everything seems like a big task. Everything seems like it's not very enjoyable, and a lot of it isn't. And I was walking down the street one day, where I had a think about, or I was kind of in the feeling, the thoughts, of the miseries of the day-to-day. I was looking at the fact that it was going dark at 4:30, because now we're in autumn-winter time in the UK. I was feeling the cold in my hands and feet, and by the way guys, I have arthritis as well, so it's particularly painful. I was thinking about how I've just finished work and I'm tired, and how I've just got to go back tomorrow to do the same thing. And the time in between, the majority will be spent sleeping and or working on my own businesses. And you know what happened? Just by perhaps a coincidence, perhaps by meaning, I don't know. As weird and insignificant as it sounds, I got hit on the head by a falling leaf. Right? Because like I say, it's autumn. The leaves are coming off the trees. And I got hit in the head with this leaf, and I had a look down at the ground, to obviously see what hit my head. It became very apparent that it was a leaf, but I just had a look. And I saw all of the colours of the trees. Something that I can actually show you right now. As I say, it's autumn. There's beautiful colours on the trees, and like I say, autumn time is when things generally get worse. Dark nights, cold days, and as soon as all these leaves, disintegrate and degrade, it will just be bare trees and darkness. But for the first time perhaps in my life, I actually had to think about this. And I know that might sound weird, but let me explain what I mean, right? I looked at all of the beautiful colours, even though it was nearly dark, right? You could just see the sort of crepuscular light of the leaves. Well, perhaps a bit more detail than that, but I had to think about what that meant and how that made me feel. And you know, normally this is along the point where I say something like, oh, not to deep it, or something along those lines, but I actually did, right? I deeped it in my own head. I looked at the colours of nature bouncing off the ground, or bouncing off the trees, or falling off the trees. I looked at, realistically, the fact that I really didn't have much pains in my entire body, and the fact that I was walking freely. And I know it sounds like I'm going all like spiritual, but hear me out with this one. Because I reflected for a minute and I thought, well, what is actually wrong? Like, at all. I just thought nothing is wrong. Nothing at all is wrong. Everything is perfect. Everything is as it's meant to be. Like I say, I've got my freedom. Even if I've not got all of my time, I could quickly reclaim it. And even if that's not true, even if my life is not going well, I think it is going well, but let's just say if it wasn't. Just look at everything around you, right? And it's when you zoom out that you see how special and amazing everything is. Things like, again, sitting in a park on a cool day with a nice autumn breeze, looking at the trees. Things like spending time with loved ones, friends and family. That's when you realise what the real meaning of life is, in a way. Or at least for me. I'm not saying that's going to be true for everyone, but it's when I zoomed out to this degree that I saw how much of an insignificance everything that I was working towards and I'm working towards is. Now, does that mean it's not worth working towards? No, of course it absolutely is. Am I still going to carry on doing everything that I've been doing? Yeah. But this is the thing. And I think this is not just a me thing at all. In fact, I know it's not, because I see myself as a very positive person. This is just a simple, I believe, fact when it comes to human psychology, right? We are very much caught up on focusing on the negatives of life and very often take the positives for granted. So like I say, the example that I gave, I could have carried on complaining about, oh, work, or I'm tired, or this or that. Well, at least you get to go to work. At least you get to be tired. You know, you'd feel less fulfilled if you weren't tired, or if you hadn't faced some suffering. It's a great contrast between fun and misery, right? So it makes you appreciate both more. At least you get to walk. Some people can't. Again, at least you're free. At least you can, realistically, even if you don't think it's the right move or the best move, or if it's not a good move, you don't have to go to your job ever again. Anything you want to do, think about it in context of the world, and then you'll see how insignificant it may become. I am personally someone of the belief that there's two sides to every story, and with the context of what I'm speaking about here, there's a very strong argument to focusing on perhaps the struggles of your day-to-day so that you can eliminate them from your life. But so many people get caught up on the struggles of the day-to-day, failing to realise the beauty of life around them. And again, do you need money to survive? Yeah. Is a meaningful career important? Maybe. Could you be living in a better place? Probably. Is that all stuff that you should still work towards? Absolutely. But past that, right? Past that, there's plenty of stuff that you can enjoy today. And the same goes for me. And there's plenty of stuff that I do enjoy today. Stuff that I've always enjoyed, but perhaps taken for granted. And this is the thing, right? It is night and day. It's black and white. It's day and light. Day and night, perhaps. The joys and the miseries of life. Because for everything that you're suffering right now, and I know this is perhaps a weird video for me, because I like to mainly focus on facts, but you know what I'm realising, right? Focusing on facts exclusively misses out a lot of the importance of life. There is a lot of meaning in the inexplicable. And sometimes a lot of fun in it if you can embrace it, right? So it's one of those ones where normally I'd say I'm not trying to go spiritual, I'm not trying to go deep. I actually am today. Because does this mean it's a complete shift in mindset? No, I'm still going to do the same things that I'm going to do, right? If I've got to go to work, I'm going to go to work. If I've got to make a business, I'm going to make a business. If I want to travel, I'm going to travel. But doing so in a new light allows you to appreciate everything that you have. Everything that you have, including the misery. Right? This is a fact of life. If you live in a place like the UK, the US, Europe, you know, you're in a position that people will literally, genuinely trade their lives for. This is true. And this is undeniable, because look at people who actually do it, right? People genuinely do this. Hundreds of thousands of people a year risk everything to come to these countries, right? Now that's a completely different topic, and I'm not trying to get into this, but this is my point, right? Everything that you are suffering now, there are people around the world who would literally die to be suffering your suffering. If that makes any sense. When you are trapped in a toxic mindset around these topics, and this is a completely new concept to me. I'm only learning about this now, and I know some people will unsubscribe. Some people may subscribe because of this, but I know some people will say, "Well, you've gone completely off the rails. Well, you've gone loopy. You don't know what you're on about now." But when you're focused on or when you're in a toxic mindset, the other day we spoke about self-limiting mindsets, where people don't believe that they can achieve. And this is another thing. Because when I had a toxic mindset, in a way, I still believed that I could achieve everything, but I thought everything on the road to get there was misery and suffering and pain. And I'm realising as I start to see the contrast in what I could have done versus what I am doing, in the sense that, a couple of months or years ago, the concept of moving to a new place seemed undoable, so it was very miserable. Now that I have the opportunity to literally just up and leave, right? I'm not saying that I will or would, it's just an example. We need something tangible to discuss. When I didn't have the opportunity, I thought I couldn't do it. It was everything, and it was everything that made me miserable. Because I can't travel, I can't do what I want, I can't buy what I want, etc. Now that you're starting to have the ability to do that, let's say I moved halfway across the world. I don't know where to. I gave examples in my last videos of places like Thailand, and people say, well, you can't move to Thailand. It's an example, right? So just hear me out on the concept. If I upped and left to Thailand or Dubai or Singapore or Malaysia, for example, even if my life was completely better, do you not think there'd be a little bit of me that missed, or at least questioned, or at least reminisced on what I'd currently call the darker days, right? You will miss, in this particular example, or at least think about with fond memories, even the misery, right? The 12-hour days at work, the pain, the suffering, the uncertainty. That's the come up. Is it enjoyable at the time? Absolutely not. But when you can look back and be proud of yourself, that's different. Is there evil in the world on a human level? Yeah, there is, undeniably. Is there suffering in your life, in my life, in the human experience? Yeah, undeniably as well. But we're focused too much on making this the forefront of our experience. Maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously. I think subconsciously, but it doesn't really matter how or why. We make this a bigger part of our experience than it needs to be. Now, by the way, there's going to be people watching this video because, when you've got videos that maybe get hundreds, if not thousands of views, you get people from all different backgrounds, and there's going to be people who are living a life of genuine suffering. So this is not going to apply to everyone. But if you're someone like me who thought, damn, life is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm walking in the cold and the rain, and I'm not. Calm down. Calm down. And just reflect on the genuine joys and miseries of life. Now, maybe you'll write it out on paper and realise that in your experience currently there is more suffering than good. Genuinely, right? Suffering that you can help. Maybe you really feel terrible about everything. Maybe, I don't know, the list could go on, it depends on your circumstances. But if that's you, that's where you think about changing. And I think everyone should still try and advance themselves. If you're really in a bad place, you need to change. But a lot of people, they make the experience worse than it needs to be. And I think that's even a controversial thing to say, because people don't like to hear that because it takes... People could say, well, I'm doing this, or I'm living this, or... How can you say it's not bad? I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm not saying it's not bad at all. Like I say, there is misery and joy in all of our lives. You might think you have a life with no joy in it. Well, at least you get to contemplate, you know. You've got the luxury of thinking about how you have no joy. Some people's lives are genuinely that miserable. They can't even compute or take the time to think about it, right? Some people are doing stuff much worse than you. And that's a big point in this topic, and they're still smiling, some of them as well. I'm not saying that this is going to be useful advice for anyone or everyone. People assume that just because I make YouTube videos I'm trying to give advice. I'm not. If it's information that's useful, some of it could be advice. Some of my videos nowadays are advice, but the channel was never really set up with advice as its goal. It's just me expressing my opinions and experiences, and if that's useful, great. So it's not going to apply to everyone, but you know what is, right? And apologies for the wind noise, it is quite a blustery day or whatever. We can all think differently. We can all start to think differently. Now, again, I would recommend maybe just writing out on a piece of paper. And I know a lot of people do recommend doing this anyway. I know it's a big thing in the whole like self-improvement space of, I don't know, gratitude maybe, or whatever you'd call it. Gratitude journaling, I don't know. But I recommend writing out a piece of paper for a week. Maybe make a little book, scrapbook, notebook, of all of the joys and miseries of the week. What's good, what's bad. And I don't mean, oh, well, I've got the bills to pay, you know. Genuinely, what's good? Is the nature around you beautiful? Is the day one of greatness? Are you in little to no pain physically? Do you not have to worry for food? Now, alternatively, you could be living in a completely different experience. Maybe, I know the example that I gave earlier today, in this video, was the fact that on cold days I get a lot of like pain in my hands and legs and knees, and maybe that's a negative. And again, you weigh it up over a week, a month, a year. Then you reflect on what the experience of life really is for you. Now, by the way, that's not me trying to say that anyone should stay in their bubble. Anyone should stop looking for growth. No. We should all carry on doing that, absolutely. And I would never say anything otherwise. But at the same time, here's the fact. On the journey for growth, daily, weekly, monthly, there's going to be things that we don't like and things that we do. Even in the most miserable days that I've had in the past 2 months of trying to build a business, grow it, you know, losing money, making money, going to work, not going to work, cold day, hot day, sunny, happy, hanging out with friends, being alone. There's been positives and negatives, ups and downs. And again, as you get to a point where you're breaking out of that cycle, where you're making money online, for example mine, because I can only focus on my goals, and you're genuinely starting to think about, oh, maybe I could move to this place or that place. I've got, you know, numerous thousands of pounds coming in a month, and it's looking like it's only going up because I'm building more income streams. I can actually move. And this is just one example, right? But then you start to think, oh, well, seriously, now that I can escape, now that it can be the past, I would really miss this. Or this stupid thing about my city that I used to hate. That was quite funny, actually. Or the old days where I used to just do this and drive around in this car, and now I've got you'll look back in a different light, and that's basically the case from anyone that's made it. The only reason why you'd not feel positive about the past is if that was your best days. If your best days are behind you, obviously you might be salty and bitter. But if your best days are behind you, you've got more worries on your plate than watching a 21-year-old speak to a camera in a park, right? Let's not lie. I feel like being trapped is what leads to genuine resentment in life, but if you really know you can change, and you really do believe it and know it and see the future, you look at things with a different context. The wind's picking up and I'm getting kind of cold here, so I'm just going to kind of conclude this video, but I want to say this, right? Yeah, there is genuine struggle in your life, my life. Maybe you can't pay the bills. Maybe you've got a job that you hate. Maybe you really think this is your calling in life, this or that. But just like we spoke about the self-limiting mindset the other day, it's a similar sort of thing. This is another limiting mindset that most people have. They are in a field of toxicity that they'll not be able to escape unless they believe that they can. And trust me guys, when you can escape it, like I say, the example that I gave of making money, being able to quit the job, being able to move, then you start to think about, well, the times that I couldn't do that, it wasn't necessarily fun, but this was a laugh, or that was a laugh. And there's funny memories when you look back and you've improved from everything, right? If you're on a stagnant path, you're not going to feel that. Absolutely you're not. But then again, like I say, that's a bigger issue. If you're really progressing, you'll see changes and you'll feel better as the years go on. But you've got to really make the changes and carry on growing. A lot of people limit themselves.